Good morning, students. Welcome to the virtual classroom. The lecture number 3 for the chapter number 6, that is extraction of metal from its source, that is particularly metallurgy. The heading of our chapter was general principles and isolations, the process of isolation of the elements. Anyhow, we have already seen it in our second lecture also, extraction of metal like iron and copper. Iron we did it through blast furnace, copper we did it through reverberatory furnace. Right? The third metal extraction that we are having it, that is for zinc. Extraction of zinc. Now when we are talking about the zinc is generally obtained in the form of zinc oxide. The main ore of the zinc we are always going to get it as ZnO. It's reacted with C, gets converted into Zn plus Co. If you are taking it as 2 moles of ZnO plus C, then you are going to get it as 2Zn plus CO2. But during the process, we are always going to use it as an coke. It's a better reducing agent. So there is one of the objective question that is being asked, that heating the zinc at 1673 Kelvin. This particular process is carried out at 1673 Kelvin. When this particular process is carried out, is a zinc oxide reacting with carbon or carbon monoxide is a better? Which one is a better reducing agent, C or CO? Which is the better reducing agent for ZnO, C or CO? Which one is a better? Our answer should be C. At 1673 Kelvin temperature, the coke very easily gets converted into carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, or the zinc. It's a very low melting point containing component. The zinc can be converted into its liquid form very easily, and so as a result it can be separated out very easily at 1673 Kelvin, and that's the reason why C, it's a better reducing agent for ZnO. And even according to the Allingham diagram, that was something related to it, the thermodynamically, when the two different components are mixed together at this temperature 1673, that is C, it's becoming a delta G as a maximum negative value, and that's the reason why C is a better reducing agent than CO. Okay, that's only we are having it for the zinc. We don't have it as a detail anything related to the zinc. But now we were studying it, all these things through studied after that thermodynamically principle, right? The fourth metal that we are going to extract, that is aluminum. We are going to extract this aluminum metal on the basis of electrochemical principle. We are going to study it on the electrochemical principle, that is the chapter number 3 that we have studied, electrochemistry. Through electrolysis, by taking the compound, we are going to extract the aluminum. So what is the reason why aluminum is not extracted through thermodynamics and it's extracted to aluminum? This is one of the question. We can say that through thermodynamic principle you need C or CO to be used as a reaction. Al2O3 thermodynamically does not have any delta G value negative, so it's becoming difficult. Now why its value is not negative? Because its melting point of delta G, it's a very high. Melting point of Al2O3, the melting point of Al2O3, that is alumina, it's a 2043 degrees Celsius temperature. I'm not saying Kelvin, it's a degree Celsius. It's a very high temperature. So to melt that thermodynamically, it's becoming difficult. And so it's carried out through electrolysis, because in it we are going to mix the third component. Right? We will study it. So extraction of now actually when we are going it for it, we are going to use aluminum. If we are being asked which is the basic ore of aluminum, basic ore of aluminum is bauxite. Bauxite is concentrated into aluminum, right? So bauxite is the main ore of aluminum, but its extraction from aluminum, particularly it's a second step after purifying bauxite. It's a second step. This particular process, extraction of alumina to aluminum, it's known as Hall-Héroult process. That one was known as Bayer's process. It was bauxite to aluminum, Bayer's process. Aluminum to alumina. So this is the main ore of aluminum, right? Many students, they make it as an error. They forget about the bauxite, that is only the component of alumina. It was .XH2O, that H2O is removed, or the concentration of the ore is done. So main ore of an aluminum is bauxite, right? Conversion bauxite to alumina is Bayer's process. Alumina to aluminum is Hall-Héroult process. This particularly Hall-Héroult process, which we are going it on, this process is carried out on electrochemical process. Why it is so? We already told that with Al2O3, its melting point is very high. You can say that approximately 2045 degrees Celsius, right? It's a very high temperature, so it's difficult. So its temperature has to be brought down. So Al2O3 is mixed with cryolite, that is Na3AlF6, right? Now when this is done, the melting point of Al2O3 is brought down at approx 1000 degrees Celsius, almost half of it. So it becomes very easy for the electrolysis. So because of this particular process is carried out by mixing cryolite in it. Okay, so once the cryolite is mixed, the temperature is brought down. By lowering the temperature, what will happen? The reaction now can be taken out. Now by electrolysis in presence of graphite rod, that is electrodes. Both anode and cathode have graphite electrode. Both anode and they will be having it as an graphite electrode. So during this case, as an electrolysis at cathode, we will get it as Al plus 3 electron gets converted into Al, whereas at anode we get the reaction of C plus O minus 2, it gets converted into CO plus 2 electron, or C plus 2O minus 2, it gets converted into CO2 plus 4 electron. So what does it shows? During the case reaction, generally we studied in our third chapter that graphite is an inert electrode, it does not take part in the reaction, right? But in this particular reaction, because Al is very highly reactive, it reacts, and that's the reason why after every certain reaction, after a certain time, the graphite electrode of an anode has to be replaced. Which one? Anode. Cathode, it's an aluminum that is deposited. So graphite at cathode did not reacted, but graphite of carbon, the graphite of anode reacted with oxygen and gets converted into CO or CO2. So after a certain process, you will have to replace the graphite electrodes during the reaction. So this is the electrolysis process that is being carried out for the extraction of aluminum. Right? We studied it, the 4 different extractions of the metal that were in the impure form. These are in the impure form. We know that we are doing it as a second step of the metallurgy. Isolation of the metal, crude metal, we are getting it. Now once we get the crude metal, it is necessary that it should be purified. So our third step of the metallurgy now, today, we will be going it through the third step of the metallurgy. We have to go it for 3 steps. So first, second we did it. Now third step, that is purification of metal. Again, while doing the purification of the metal, it is the same thing. Different processes are available for purifying the metal. We are not having it as in one process to purify the metal. We are having number of processes. But these process, which one will be used for which particular metal or for which particular element, it depends upon the property of that element or the impurity that is present in that element. So depending upon the impurities, the properties of the impurities or the property of an element which is to be purified, depending on it, we are having it as in different methods, out of which few of them are given to us. Few of them are given to us at present. Right? We are not been given all the methods. Now first method that is given to us, distillation. The distillation process method, it's specifically used for those metals which are having very low boiling point. We know it, Zn, Hg. Hg is an exceptional liquid. We studied it, zinc. Zinc is having it as a low boiling point. It can be easily liquefied. So those which are having it as a low melting point, low boiling point metals like Zn and Hg, they have been taken. What is done in it? They are heated to a very high temperature. The metal gets vaporized. It's been distilled out, and on condensation, we get it as an extra pure metal. Impurities do not come out because we are heating it at a low boiling point component, so temperature will be low, and at low temp only certain liquids will be vaporized, rest of them will remain in the flask. So by distillation only low boiling point metals are being separated. The second, liquation. Liquation means those metals which are having low melting points, like tin. Tin is having it as a low melting point. This component, it's been separated by allowing it to flow it on the, by like this, the surface has been placed, slanting surface. Metal, it's been heated, this surface has been heated. When the metal is allowed it, then what will happen? The one with a low melting point, so it will liquefy very easily, and liquid can flow very easily compared to that of the solid. So as a result, what will happen? Those which are having low melting point will flow out very easily, and the one with a high melting point will be remaining in the solid form, so though they won't be able to roll out, right? So that particular process is used for low melting point liquids. The third one we are having it is a electrolytic refining. This is particularly electrolysis. copper or aluminum. See, we studied it, extraction of copper. We got it as a blister copper. That means it contains some impurities in it. What is done? That blister copper is taken on anode. So it gets converted into Cu plus 2 plus 2e. At cathode, that Cu plus 2 plus 2e gets converted into Cu. So impure copper is converted into pure copper. During the reaction, impure is converted into pure copper. So that is an electrolytic refining. The fourth one we are having, it is a zone refining. This particular refining process, what is done in the zone refining? It's based on the principle that the separation of impurities is carried out in the molten state more easily. Impurities are separated in molten state more easily. Particularly for this, metals that are used in germanium, silicon, boron, etc. are being separated by this process, because when we are using it in a semiconductors, these metals should be in a very extra pure form, right? And so this principle is used. The impurities are more soluble in the melted state than in the solid state, right? So separated more easily. So in this case, what is done? The rod is taken, the electrode is allowed it to move in a one direction. The impurities are melted out and separated. The pure form is taken separately. So that is the zone refining process that is being done. The fifth method that we are having it, that is very important. Vapor phase method. We are having it as in two of it. One is known as Mons process. This is particularly the process in which nickel is being separated. Now, whenever this vapor phase method is done, it is told that the metal should react with a certain compound to form a complex, and that complex should be very easily reduced to obtain the pure metal. So what is done in the Mons process? The particular process that is being used for the vapor phase refining. In the Mons process, what is done? Ni reacts with 4Cu at 330 to 350 Kelvin temperature. It gets converted into NiCO4 complex. This NiCO4 complex is heated at 450 Kelvin. It gets converted into Ni plus Co. So we get it as pure nickel metal, right? The second one we are having, it is a Van Arkel process. In the Van Arkel process, particularly zirconium and titanium are the particular metals that have been separated. What is done it? These are reacted. They are reacted with iodine. Reacted with iodine. In this process, Zr is reacted with I2. It gets converted into Zr I2. Right? Zr I4. This Zr I4 at 1800 Kelvin, it gets again converted into Zr plus 2I2. So we get it as pure zirconium obtained back during this process. So this is a particular process in which we say it as vapor phase method. They are converted into the complexes, and then again from their complexes, by heating it at a very high temperature, the impurities or the component with which they reacted, they get converted into vapor forms, and the pure metals are obtained back. So that particular process is known as vapor phase method. The sixth one we are having it, that is known as chromatography. Now this particular chromatography method, it's again carried out on the principle of adsorption. It's a column that is taken, like you are using the burette, you have used the burette, type of an burette is taken. In it a certain mixture of Al2O3, MgO, SiO2, they are mixed together. Al2O3, MgO, SiO2, they are mixed. They are known as adsorbates. They adsorb the impurities. So they are first of all filled into the column. Once the half of the column is filled up with this component, the solution which has to be purified is added from the top. By adding it from the top, the impurities are adsorbed on Al2O3 or MgO or SiO2, and the pure component is allowed it, the pure solution is allowed it to flow down. By opening the knob from the bottom, the compound is separated. That has been allowed it to get vaporized, the solvent is allowed it to vaporize, and we get it as a pure component separated from it. Particularly this is known as column chromatography. A similar type of chromatographies are also there, like paper chromatography or gas chromatography. Right? We studied a particular example of column chromatography. So these are the different methods through which extractions of the metals that can be done. Right? Okay, so like that we go it through three different steps: concentration, isolation, and purification of the metals. After that, we are having it as a last topic now to discuss, and that is the uses of the metals. Now particularly the uses of the four metals that we extracted. Right? Now you can read it in your textbook. Just on a brief case, I am just saying it briefly, that if I am being told that where is an use of an aluminium, I can say that aluminium foil is used for wrapping the food materials. We can say that aluminium is also used for wrapping the chocolates. We can say that aluminium is a particular component which is used for preparation of an alloys. Aluminium is also used in paint and liquor industries. Similarly, if I am being asked zinc, zinc is a particular metal that is used for galvanization of an iron, that we have studied in our chapter 3, corrosion of a metal to protect the iron. Zn is coated on it. That particular process is known as galvanization. So that is galvanizing of an iron. Or you can also say that number of alloys that can be prepared from the zinc. Right? So for an alloy formation. Similarly, copper is also used for an alloy formation. You can say that the main use of an copper, large amount of the use, mainly you can say it that for preparing the electrical wires. The wires are prepared from the aluminium, right, in an electrical industry. Similarly, for the iron, we know it that all the instruments are prepared from the iron depending upon the different strengths. You can say that machineries are prepared from the iron. You can say that automobiles are prepared from the irons. Utensils are prepared from the irons. Stainless steel is one of the alloy that is used for preparation. That is again of an iron. So iron is used in very large quantities. Number of uses that can be specified for it. Okay. So that is for the uses of the four elements that we have extracted. This is all what we were having it, even we studied in the 10th. I just explained you in a brief. We completed that chapter within a short duration. The reason is, this is a theoretical chapter, nothing was there to discuss it more. So read the chapter completely, carefully, with all the question answers of the in-text, solved, unsolved, that are given in a form of an exercise. Right? I will send you the notes also for it. But make it sure that you read it line to line, word to word before your unit test. Thank you.